Of all the single chapters in the Bible, maybe Romans 6 is the tops for me. I mean, Romans 6 has so much in it. It is a power-packed passage of Scripture. First, we learn that something incredible happened to us at the core of our being. You know, Paul's big question, the one he's been attacked with, is this idea that should we go on sinning, Paul? I mean, God's grace is so big. God's grace is so never-ending. It is so forever, no matter what, unconditional, off the charts amazing, that should we just go out and abuse God's grace? That's how the chapter starts. And you would think that the Apostle Paul would try to nip that one in the bud, maybe with an idea like, well, God's going to be upset with you, or God's going to withdraw himself from you, God's going to punish you. But you know, that's not his answer at all. When they come to him saying, should we abuse God's grace? Here's his answer. He says, by no means, or of course not, or no way, man, because we've died to sin. How can we live in it any longer? Now that's a weird answer. Somebody says, you know, I can do whatever I want now, can I? I mean, you know, God's grace, God's forgiveness, God's mercy, God's love is never ending, so isn't that just a license to do whatever? And Paul, rather than chastising them with some sort of punishment as the motivation, instead he says, hey, Christian, do you know who you are? Do you know what's happened to you? You're asking if you can go out and eat garbage when you've been invited to the table to really enjoy a serious eternal feast in Jesus Christ. Why talk about the dumpster when you've got the market cornered on everything good? So the point is that we've died to sin. That means that our heart that desired sin has been ripped out, crucified with Christ, and we have a new heart that doesn't even desire sin. You know, in the same chapter, Romans 6, it says we have become obedient from the heart. It's high time that Christians realize what their hearts look like. I mean, if we were to open you up on a spiritual operating table, what does your heart look like? Paul says it's now an obedient heart. We used to be slaves of sin, but now we have become obedient from the heart. That's a nature change. That's a spiritual change at the core of your being, so that when you do have this freedom of God's grace, and when you do have this off-the-charts acceptance and this unconditional love with no strings attached, and you wake up one morning and you say, well then, what do I really want to do? Well, then your heart starts crying out, this is what I really want. I don't even really want to sin. When we come to grips with that, that is revolutionary. That changes everything. That means that I can operate in the midst of freedom and realize, as Paul says later in Romans 6, I can realize what benefit is there from those things of which I used to be ashamed. I used to run in those things and walk in those things and act in those ways, and they never really paid off. And now I've got the best life in Jesus Christ. He is my source. He is my everything. And my heart's cry is to look to Him and lean on Him and depend on Him. And He has the market cornered on fulfillment, and I know that now. And my destiny is not to continue in sin. My destiny is to grow up in Jesus Christ. Otherwise, you know, I'd be invited to be a fake. You should act holy, but your heart's not holy. You should act righteous, but your heart's not righteous. Look, Christianity is not about faking it. It's about looking inward and seeing the heart surgery that Christ performed at the core of your being, and then simply letting your behavior on the outside match the heart that you've got on the inside.